everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about callback. What are callbacks? Why do they happen? And what should you do to prepare for a callback? But before we get started, I'm Sophia Lovelace and I post theater videos, comedy videos, and style videos. So if any of that stuff interests you, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below to be notified when I have new uploads. I upload around once a week, so you do not want to miss out when I have those uploads. One thing you should know about becoming an actor, and here's a quote that I see all the time, and it's 100% true, that 90% of what you're doing as an actor is not acting. And one of those other things you're doing as an actor, which is not acting, is auditioning. There is a lot of auditioning that goes on with actors because there's so much competition that it's sometimes difficult to get roles because they're just seeing so many people. And in order to help casting directors make a better, more accurate decision of who they're gonna cast, they might ask you to come back for a callback. So what is a callback? A callback is something that happens after your audition. So you've already went in and did whatever they wanted you to do in the audition. So it could have been a monologue, a cold reading, a dance, a song, whatever they requested for the type of project you're auditioning for. And a callback means that they just want to see you, and usually other people, again, usually this happens if there's a few, like let's say maybe 3 or 4 people that they think would be good for one role. They just want to call them back to see who would be the best fit again, because the 4 people that they selected would be good for the role. They just want to choose the best one. So some key things about callbacks is that 1, you have to be invited to go to the callback. So even if it does say on the website, oh, callbacks are this day, so auditions these days, and then callbacks are these days, if you do not get invited to go to a callback, even if it's posted on the website or the email or whatever it is, do not go unless you are invited to go. Because if you go and you're not invited, this looks kind of creepy. In the best case scenario, you've probably already been maybe cast, so just going and showing up when you're already cast but they just haven't announced it yet, you might lose your position. Sometimes people think if they show up, it shows that they're proactive. This doesn't do that. On the one hand, it looks really creepy. On another hand, they could have canceled callbacks, so they could have planned to do callbacks, but then they found people that fit their roles perfectly the first time. And you also don't want to show up to callbacks if you're not invited, because they might only be doing callbacks for certain roles. And for example, if you auditioned for a role and you unknowingly were the only person that auditioned for that role, or the only person that they really liked who auditioned for that role, you could have gotten that role automatically without having a callback. So that leads me into the next point, that just because you didn't get invited to come to a callback doesn't mean you're cut from the production 100%. So if you do not get invited to a callback, that does not mean at all that you're not getting in the production. It just means that they've already seen enough of what you've done. Another thing about callbacks, if you do get a callback and then you don't end up getting a role, that's okay. If it's a long-running show or a company that's been around for a while, they might have just wanted to see you again because they're thinking about you for a project in the future. So I basically covered what is a callback, why do they happen, but then that leads to the third question of how do you need to prepare for a callback. So preparing for a callback is very similar to an audition. However, most of the time you will have even less time to prepare for a callback than you do have an audition. But do not worry, do not stress out, because if you've already done your work to prepare for the audition, then the callback should be fairly easy to prepare. So the first thing about auditioning and callbacks is that when the casting director emails you or calls you or however they get in contact with you, they will give you a list of details of what you need to do at the callback. And just like when you go to an audition, you need to follow the list. If they tell you something like prepare a 1-minute monologue, you prepare a 1-minute monologue. Don't prepare a song, don't prepare a dance number. If they want to see a monologue, go in and prepare a monologue. Sometimes these callback notices are really vague. Sometimes they'll literally send you a link and be like, get familiar with this song. If it's for a musical, that's happened. So you listen to that song, maybe you look at the lyrics, maybe you practice the song a few times. What they could ask you to do when you get there is you can either do a cold reading, which is where they hand you a script, or a side. So it's basically a script and there's another person, like reading person A, and you're reading person B, and you're basically having this dialogue with this person as you go through the script. Acting, of course, make sure to act. Do not just recite lines. Make sure to make character choices. You probably will fumble over your words. You'll probably make the wrong choice, in your opinion, but that's really not what they care about. They probably just want to see how you respond to your mistakes, how you think of the character right away, and then also if you take direction. So many times, almost every audition that I've been in, they ask you to say something differently or do an action with the monologue. 90% of the time that I've been asked, or given direction is what we call it, I haven't done anything wrong. And I know from their body language and what they're telling me to do, they're literally not thinking that how I did it was wrong. They're just trying to see if I take direction. So I got one time, I was doing a comedic monologue and then someone was like, hey, can you do this monologue very serious, like a Shakespearean serious monologue? And I was like, okay. And definitely that would have not worked for the monologue if I had auditioned that way, but they just want to see if I can take feedback. They really didn't think it would be better if I did it dramatically, but they just wanted to see if I took that direction. I would prepare by doing vocal warm-ups, doing acting warm-ups, whatever your routine is, and it's very important to have a vocal warm-up routine. Even if you're not a singer, there of course is tongue twisters and other things that actors can use to help prepare their voice. Maybe do some stretches if you're a dancer, or even if you're not a dancer, just getting your body relaxed and used to being moved around. So it's important to have a routine about what kind of stretches, what kind of vocal warm-ups you do, because it will help your body get relaxed. It will recognize that this is a routine, this is what I do, and it will help calm those nerves. Now, there is no right or wrong way to have a routine for how to prepare for rehearsals or auditions or callbacks. You need to figure out what works best for you and what makes you feel the most confident. So that's basically all I can say about callbacks. Every callback is different, every audition is different, every director is different, every theater company is different, every production is different. So of course I couldn't cover all the little things for each of those genres for any possible project you could be auditioning for, but this is just some basic knowledge that can help you at your next callback, especially if this is your first time going to a callback. And definitely do not stress about it. If you've been invited to a callback, that doesn't, like, they obviously don't hate you if they want to bring you back in. In the name of Dionysus, the god of theater, make sure to subscribe. You wouldn't want to make Willie Shakes upset, would you? And I think that's it for today, and bye!